All right, Carrie, can you hang on for a minute there and just let anyone else in? I don't see anybody now, but I'd like to get started because
Yep, I'm
people
here.
who make it on time deserve that. So, because of Easter, actually, I had a very different experience for myself this Easter as compared to last Easter. Last Easter, I'm not even sure that my family was together. I'm not sure whether your family was together or whether they even get together for this kind of celebration. But the idea of celebrating the essence of new birth, new arrival, the fresh present moment, the universal sense of regeneration, renewal, resourcing, remembering um, is actually essential and really experienced throughout traditions, throughout religions, uh, throughout ceremony, throughout the seasons, and acknowledging the truth of the seasons. So it's really right there for us when we are ready to be open to receive what spring has sprung. And this year, because I got to be with some family, because we were all in a little bit less fear, it was a little more comfortable for all of us because we had a sense of a certain knowing. Many of my family have been vaccinated. We felt a lot of gratitude for that possibility. Whether you agree with vaccines or not is actually not important. That you have the possibility for that, if that feels right for you, is, or that you make a choice not to do it, but that it's a choice is also valuable and appropriate. And so this spring, this Easter, I really could feel the sense of the way that life continues, the way that life continues, even when we're certain, as many of us had fears last year at the same time, that life might end. And it is true also, isn't it, then, that life does not continue in a way that is familiar, is known, is predictable, is comfortable, and our learning how to take those fresh, new, unknown moments and actually use them well is an essential part of the practice and a part of the teachings. Well, there's some science that backs us up with this, as well as these 2,600 and older year traditions. This is a practice that actually comes from well before Christ was born, in fact, and was practiced regularly. I'll tell you why. And so, in the taking in the good, or I like to call it soaking in the good or savoring the good, the value of the practice is that it, in fact, balances and provides equilibrium, if you could think of it that way, for the reality that our brain stems and our amygdala, left to their own device, will choose to see the negative experience about 17 times more regularly than the positive. That's, of course, based on the essential realities of survival, which says that it is better to mistakenly see a tiger than to stop to smell the rose. Why? Because if you see a tiger and don't assess, appraise correctly, you'll likely only see one. You can smell a rose or see a positive, supposedly, anytime. And so our negativity bias of 17 to 1 was built for survival dynamic, very appropriate. Good news, really, essentially, because we all got here. We have gotten to this moment based on our ancestors paying attention to where the dangers and threats were, appraising them appropriately, and responding. That's good news. However, nowadays, here's some bad news. We see tigers everywhere. Everything looks dangerous. Everything looks like it's a potential threat. Uh, we tend to see a stripe and mistake it for a tiger. And so our appraisal skills have actually gone from what is this as the essential question to this is probably going to kill me. And I want you to know the difference, though it's nanoseconds to the brain, also sets a standard, a neuro circuitry in process that's going to take you down the rabbit hole. Why? Because once you've decided or praised, and we do it more quickly now than we ever have throughout time, that that thing is dangerous. And remember, it's often an invisible tiger called maybe it could happen. What if it could happen? There's no longer a real tiger in front of us at all. It is simply our concepts, our fears, and our narratives, storylines running the show. We react in exactly the same way, fortunately and unfortunately, as if there was a real tiger there. So our stress reactions are most typically to invisible tigers that in fact are not tigers at all. They are in fact narratives, storylines, old habitual beliefs that say things like, it's never going to, I'm never, it's not, with that 17-time negativity bias. Well, the soaking or savoring in the good practices are designed to remember balance and provide equilibrium and equanimity in the face of both. Beautiful, good news. But there's some science behind this now as well, and I want us to look at it together before we do the practice. So the taking in the good, one of the best YouTube videos on taking in the good or soaking in the good is by Rick Hanson, PhD, a neuropsychologist who in fact wrote the book, The Buddha's Brain, and Neurodharma, several others. And this is what he has to say about those practices as they have been researched. At the banquet of life, bring a big spoon. What that means is that we want to drink in all the positive experiences as best we can, because remember, we're already going to misperceive them as one positive event to 17 things I didn't want, didn't like, and didn't prefer, or that I defined as unpleasant or negative. Already the bias exists, number one. The good news is there's such a thing called neuroplasticity. What neuroplasticity does is say, however, even though we have a brainstem tendency for that 17 to 1 negative to positive, we also have the capacity with training, with practice, with repetition, with remembering to balance that positive to the negative, and in fact can do so rather quickly. In fact, we know we can cultivate skills, strengths, and qualities exponentially. This is really good news. So though we have that negativity bias, we can, with a little bit of practice, strengthen our positive capacities to see and savor rather quickly and exponentially. Good news. I love this. Here's what the practices and the research say must happen in order to really soak in, integrate, synthesize, and then utilize those positive experiences. The first is you have to find a positive, you have to name it positive, you have to recognize it as positive, and then you have to be willing to soak it in. So we let a positive fact become a positive experience. That means, oh, you know, it was actually pleasant weather today. Recognition, remembering, and naming. Oh, you know, I'm recollecting now that I had enough to eat today. Oh, remembering, recognizing, naming the positive as positive. Gratitude also is built and cultivated and strengthened in this very same way. Gratitude might even be the result of the identifying, the naming, and the holding of the positive event. But that is not what we're working on today. That's a result. We're actually working on the first part, which is remembering, recognizing, seeing, and holding the positive to begin with. The research says if you don't name the event, oh, there's one, it's positive, the chance of being able to willing to drink it in and savor it goes very, very low. Rick Hansen says, don't leave money lying on the table. If you see a positive event, do your best to recognize it, name it, tag it, and breathe it in. We're going to do that this week and see how it goes for you. The second critical step then is to savor the event for at least 10 to 20 to 30 seconds. Here's some interesting research. It says that just to scan the field of events and go positive, positive, negative, and negative will not actually sufficiently allow you to use that positive experience and its consequences in a resourced way. You will not have access to it later. In fact, what we're going to do the practice, we're going to look at what's one you remember. And what we actually know for sure is that you remember that very event, in fact, because you paid attention for 10 to 20 or 30 seconds. You sustained attention on that pleasant or positive object for enough time that the eyes, ears, nose, mouth, body, and the mind that knew it actually got online. Yes, it takes that long. It's worth the effort because you're going to be able to put that positive experience in the bank, in the drawer, in the filing cabinet, and then use it essentially later in less resourced time. This is also good news. We're actually going to take the event, let it be a recollection of it. We're going to visualize it. We're going to intensify and strengthen it. And then we're going to actually breathe it down into the body and see if we can't feel the effects of that positive experience. It's why we're going to pick one that we've already had before. Always start with the things you have in the bank already. We're going to breathe it in, and then I'm going to ask you to further develop the vignette and intensify it. The third step then is that we have to sense the intention that the experience is soaking in is actually happening. We're going to draw it in through pores. We're going to draw it in through the sense doors. We're going to draw it into the mind. You can actually even create a visualization with that intention, and I'll lead you and guide you through that. To actually be like a sponge, soaking in the positive experience. That's the visualization I often use. I may use another today, is that sense of really opening everything to scoop it all up in, drink it in completely. And that'll be the third step. And then the other is to repeat it as often as possible. Why? Well, that which we repeat in small moments many times grows stronger. That which we repeat in small moments many times grows strongest. And this skill is one that we all need. We all need to strengthen, and we all need to learn how to rest in several times a day. There's some other notes here on what is taking in. It explains different kinds of memories that we utilize. We're going to be utilizing primarily our implicit memory today, which is emotions, body sensations, and relational qualities. We talk about why it's important. I just reviewed that a little bit. We now know it's 10, 20, or 30 seconds, not 5. We actually know that 5 is not sufficient, by the way. At the time that this was written in 2005, we were not as clear about that as we are today. We talked about the fact that negatives can easily trump positive events because of the strength of the survival and threat mechanism, and that we have to do more positive recollections in order to balance that. We also talked about this fact that you're helping yourself not only by registering good experiences, but by becoming more skillful, more resourced, and then being able to respond more adequately to stressful or challenging events with that positive uh, um, imago, I guess I'll call it. The positives: I have access, I have resource, I have availability, that will allow us to perceive possibilities and then solutions in a better way. It builds faith and confidence in the benefits of the practices. Of course, you're going to notice that pretty significantly. And it's the right thing to do, because when you're whole, when you're your best, in fact, what we know for sure is that you contribute most heartfully, most completely to the benefit and the welfare of others in the world. And so that's what that has to say today. We're going to be practicing this now. I'm going to stop for a second, just say hello to everyone. I saw some of you coming in later. Besides Scott, our new member, I see Elizabeth. I haven't seen you in a while, Elizabeth. Good to see you. John, Judy, welcome. Libby, I just saw Libby yesterday. She was here for Thanksgiving, Easter. And Marie, I think Kathy's here too. Great. Holiday, holy day. I'm going to end this for now. As you get ready to prepare to sit, we're recording, so we have access to this later. Lying or sitting, both are fine. In either case, I'd like you to find a most supported posture, one that's going to allow you sufficient resource to cultivate some particular memories and visualizations. If you're lying down, you may get a little dopey, a little sleepy, and then it will be harder to use these positive events that we're going to be remembering and then resourcing today. So I'm going to get started here. If you have any questions, they will likely be answered by the practice itself. Let's just see what happens. And so with feet, legs, buttocks on the floor or in the bed, I'd like you to establish first a stable base. If you're lying, you're going to let the whole back of the body very likely be the stable base. If you're sitting like I am, you're going to let the feet, the legs, and the hips be that base for yourself, feeling into it. We're not trying to accomplish anything here except to feel the stability of the body that's resting here in stillness. Can you feel the way the body settles and comes to rest at the end of the out breath? There's no need to stop thinking. There's no need to laser beam in, but you want to hold a 51% or better, majority or better attention on the elected object of the base of the body, wherever we're anchoring this body to the earth. And feel into it. Let the body settle. And then before we ring the bell, we'll recollect our aspiration to be a contribution to the good and to minimize harm. And to do so for ourselves, for loved ones, for friends, for neighbors, and in ever expanding circles, continuing out until all beings are safe, all beings are free. We make the wish that all beings are happy. And we dedicate the blessings and merits of this practice to that aspiration. May it be so. And so after we ring the bell, we've set the heart in the right direction. We've made contact with the body. And now we're placing the mind on purpose in the sense of the breath as we breathe in, expanding, filling, rising, inflating. Feel that sense. And on the out breath, feeling the way we move from the in breath into the out breath and its release. See if you can stay in contact with the out breath. All the way to the stillness at the end. And if you can catch that at all, you just congratulate yourself and then rest there until the beginning of the next in breath. See if you can feel that sense of freshness, newness, renewal, rejuvenation, regeneration at the beginning of each in breath. The breath is cool, drier, fresh. And on the out breath, it's warm and moist. We stabilize the attention here in the breath for a few moments. When the mind moves to sounds or thoughts or other body sensations, we simply notice or recognize that it's happening. We smile, and with a lot of gentleness, infinite amounts of curiosity and kindness, we simply direct the attention back to the breath. Each breath more stabilizing, more calming. Each time you come back, you are strengthening your capacity for focused attention, for sustained attention, and for not being caught in the habit mind's chatter. With each out breath, we let go. We simply open, release, soften the body a little bit more, and settle into awareness. Be watchful of the tendency. You'll begin to notice tensions, tightness in the body from the carrying of stress throughout the day. And we're not going to do much with that except see if we can release around that area. First, letting it be. Finding that place at the end of the breath and before the in breath, where you can simply rest. You might get a little drifty, you might become a little dull. And when you notice you're already back and awakened, then you just begin again. And now I'd like you to call to mind as you gather this calm, as you gather this settledness, this presence, call to mind a pleasant, a positive event from your past, one that you can easily recollect. It could be a special moment, just a moment of your presence and connection to people, to nature, to a moment that you actually were residing in for those 10 or 20 or 30 seconds. It is special by your very presence. It doesn't have to be a big event. It is big by your presence in it, by the joining of the present moment and you. And then I'd like you to bring as many sense doors, eyes, ears, nose, mouth, body, and the mind that knows it. So if you can't cultivate that event a little bit in your mind's eye, I picked an event of my 30th wedding anniversary celebration, which was in Kauai. And I'm recollecting smells and sights, a particular very connecting moment, the color of the sun at sunset, the smell of the plumeria. We're going to recollect with the five sense doors the warmth, the humidity, and then we're going to intensify it as best we can. See if you can't even make those experiences slightly more vivid. I'm remembering the bank we were sitting on, the rock and the plants that were around us. See what you remember. Develop it as if you were going to make a mural on a wall. And as best you can, really see the colors. Really hear the sounds. Smell the smells, and if they're tastes or other touch to the body, really breathe it in, soak it in as if you were that sponge or, fountain pen drawing in liquid. And as you're developing this image, what I'd like you to do with the out breath is drop back into the body. Rest there for a few breaths as you touch into that image and drop back into the body. And see what you notice. How does the body remember? Remember that implicit memory? Not held in the mind, but actually known by the body, known by the cells, known by the skin and the organs and the bone. How does this body hold that positive, pleasant memory? And as you're breathing in, soak it in, remembering, recollecting it as pleasant, fun, joyful, connecting, a moment of love, a moment of kindness, a moment of fun, a moment of meaning. Continue to cultivate the image. On the in-breath, capture it. On the out-breath, breathe it down and into the body. Where we hold it, where we experience it, where we remember it. And remember, we want to do so for at least about 10 breaths. If not longer. Can we feel the effects of this positive experience? Can it become not only a memory, a fact, a happening, an event? Can it become an alive experience now? Sharpen the senses if you're losing the experience, and see if you can't draw it back into the whole body. How has this experience informed you? How has it been a resource? How has this positive memory influenced, impacted? How has it protected? What have been its gifts? See if you can't fill yourself up through the skin surface into the muscle, into the veins, into the soft tissue. Which each in-breath, see if you can't deepen the experience, moving through the organs, the body parts. Let it touch the hairs, the cells, pores, all the way down to the bone. And right into the regenerative marrow. We can cultivate the positive from the positive. Remembering our capacity for joy, connection, belonging, healing, love, happiness, health. Breathe it in and remember. And then reside here for a few breaths in this body knowing. Feel the aliveness of that positive experience present right here in this body mind, right now. Soak it in, taking in the good, nourishing one's whole being. Remember, we're drawing it in on purpose with intention. And so you can imagine maybe a soft, gentle light being shined right through you all the way to the core of your being. You can imagine yourself that sponge with that positive, pleasant, joy-filled event filling every opening, every orifice, every cell, muscle, bone of the body. With each in-breath, we give ourselves another injection of this pleasant and positive event, turning that fact into memory. And now I'd like you to recollect the day, this very day, and see if you can't find another moment, another positive, joyful, loving, kind, caring, or connecting moment. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to follow that very same process now by recollecting that experience, remembering its pleasantness, its positivity, its good feeling. We're going to begin to set the stage for this positive event, remembering where we were, who we were with, and then opening those sense doors. You might place yourself back in that moment, seeing how it felt. What images, what colors, what did the eyes see? What did the ears hear? Hear it now. Were there particular smells or tastes? How was the body? See if you can't assume that same quality of body, peaceful, relaxed, excited, whatever it was. In drawing all of these particular images together, we create this positive picture. And then we begin to breathe it in. Let it once again soak into the whole of your body and being, remembering that light, remembering maybe a liquid being poured into and through you. Maybe it's love itself, joy itself, being savored and taken into the whole body. Breathed in. Informing you, inviting memory and recollection with each breath. Soaking in the good, embracing and savoring this whole experience as best you can. Do your best to keep your attention focused on the particular items of this experience, the intensifying it and the holding of it, breathing it in. Feel how the body feels as it remembers. Immersing yourself as completely as you can in this positive experience. Feeling the positive as it moves through the body. Each breath becoming more easeful, the out breath, we're just integrating, synthesizing, metabolizing this positive experience in every cell, in every pore, deep into the marrow of our bones and being. Soaking it in, breathing it in. May we all be happy. May we all be free from painful, negative afflictions. May we all remember our capacity to repeat small moments often, growing positive qualities. Small moments repeated often, building positive qualities. And for the last few moments, as you're breathing it in and filling yourself with the nutriments, with the remembering, both externally and implicitly remembering the good, see if there's anyone else, if there's any extra energy, any extra goodness. For me, I always like to share when I'm capable, when I'm in abundance. And so you can, if you know someone who's having a particularly difficult time, you can offer with the out breath then some of this positive energy, some of this goodness to them. May you too have ease. May you too be free from fear, pain, or harm. May you too recollect the good from the past, the good in the present, and the good to come. The good news is the good only leads to more good. May we be happy. May we have ease. May we recollect the infinite good and pleasant and positive and blessings, the infinite love and care and compassion that have contributed to our being here this very day. And soak it in. Feel its effect all the way through the body to the bone as we remember. And may this practice today contribute. Take your time and just feel into that body. See if there's any places of ease or release or softening. Invite that to continue. So that's the soaking in the good practice. If you would like those notes, let me know. I'm happy to share them with you. Again, most by Rick Hanson, as he really did a great job on the research. And then we notice, hopefully, that where we were felt less resourced, we now feel more resourced. Where we felt fatigued, we now feel more rested. Where we felt pain, it now feels more workable. Where we felt depleted, hopefully we can now feel a bit of rest. That's the beauty of the positive. It tends to allow the mind to be drawn towards what is sufficient, what is enough, what is already present and here that is good, so that we can remember without it, we couldn't be here. And so then we rest in that, we breathe that, we relax into that, and smile. So I hope this was useful for all of you today. Are there any comments or anything in chat you want to say or check in on before we get ready to leave? Very calming, isn't it? When we surround ourselves with goodness. I hope that, yeah, good. I hope that you continue to practice with this throughout the week. Remember, we have an essential job to bank the good, I think Carrie just wrote, because it is happening. And we do have to spend extra attention because of that amygdala's tendency and that brainstem's tendency to simply see the negative, that which endangers, that which is a potential threat. We have to work to resource ourselves and remember our resource through recollecting the good. So thank you all for this. It was so good to see you also, Elizabeth. I hope you are well. I hope you are all well. And I look forward to hearing how you have offered yourself balance, equanimity, calm, good medicine, and resource by focusing on purpose several times a day for those 10 to 20 to 30 seconds as you take it in. Then we're going to be able to use it later. If you just scan the field for the positive, you will not be able to use it. And that would be really deeply unfortunate because there it is anyway. Why not build on it? Why not build on it so that we have it to use both today, tomorrow, and the next, and the next, and the next? I can't think of anything better to do. All right, everyone. It's beautiful to see you. Blessings to you all. Love to you. It's good to see you. Mwah. Everyone, please be well. Have a fabulous evening. I know I'm going to have a better evening just from this practice. I'm going to go up and hug my husband. And now that I'm remembering how sweet he was on those and many moments, I think I'll offer a little of that back. It sounds like a perfect way to end the day. Have a very good evening. Love to you all.